producers who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Wow Report. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, here with Tom Campbell. I'm going to use the old introduction.
Yeah.
One of the twisted minds behind RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, that never gets old.
That takes me back, boy. Oh.
And you, James St. James, literary darling and editor of the Wow Report.
Thank you. It's good to see you. It's good to be
Good
back
to
at
see
the
you.
threesome. We're
Doing
home.
our regular
Yes,
show.
Uh-huh.
Today is a special day. Friday the 13th.
Bum, bum,
So let's hope we make it to the end of the show. Let's do it. We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. Without further ado, let's start with number 10. Tom.
Number 10.
Elton John.
Aha.
It's sort of Elton John's moment. He has, announced recently he's going on his farewell tour. I think it's a 3-year farewell tour. Go Elton,
I'll
go.
share, yes.
Shares, like, why, just
Yes.
do it. Keep doing it.
But there was a special tribute that aired on CBS. I think it's on CBS.com if you missed it, where it's like the Grammy salutes Elton John. And what they do is they tape, it's like, remember We Are the World? They taped right after the American Music Awards or something when everyone's in town. After the Grammys, the day after, they do a salute. Last year it was the Bee Gees we talked about.
Oh, right.
This year was Elton John. And it was... I have mixed feelings about Elton John because you just take him for granted. No, you just take him for granted. I take him for granted. Of course he is, all those things. But the way that, easy rate and listen, you sort of take it for granted. Those songs are just so part of our culture. This event, this special was thrilling, joyous. I cried and teared up several times.
Is it because of Elton or because of his legacy? Because he's not a cuddly man.
Both.
Really?
No, he's in the front row. It's like a Kennedy Center Honors, except
right,
it
right,
lasts
right.
for 2 hours. And
everybody's doing his songs.
yes. And you realize, in the 90s, Ru did Don't Go Breaking My Heart with Elton.
With Kiki, not Kiki D. The Kiki D duet
Yes.
he redid.
And George Michael, and he redid Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
that was so good.
And there was, I think, a whole tribute album to Elton in the 90s with the 90s artists. Well, in 2018, you can take all of the current artists, have them sing Elton and Bernie Taupin songs. Bernie was there too. And you realize they're timeless and they're beautiful. And Elton's, who is a little crusty, and Neil Patrick Harris, who spoke, said, if the best, he said so many great things about him, said he also has the best tantrums.
Well, of course, Tantrums and Tiaras,
Yeah.
the film made by his husband,
Yeah.
of course, when they were first dating.
Who was also there.
It's a fabulous documentary.
Well, Elton has the new. I'm sorry. Elton has that new album coming out. Well, it's not him, but it's everybody doing his
with
song.
Lady Gaga, with Lady Gaga doing
So,
your
how
song.
were the, yes, how
Miley
were the-
Cyrus did Bitches Back. She opened the show.
Gorgeous.
Killed it. Ed Sheeran did Candle in the Wind, which I was singing along with. It's such a beautiful song. And, it's about Marilyn Monroe, the original. And
Or-
but that's the remake with Princess Diana. But the
which
original's
he's
about...
only performed once.
Yes.
Just like-
Who's, from a boy in the 22nd row who saw you something more than sexual, more than just a Marilyn Monroe, which is such gay worship of an idol, right?
It's so
we
true.
don't.
It was hiding in plain sight all along, right? This is your song. It's such a that one of his first hits.
Sam Smith did an amazing.
Well, This Is Your Song is the one that Lady Gaga did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we should just do a whole Elton John
Yes.
show. Actually,
I've been
because
obsessed with him lately.
I tell you,
Yeah, I've been listening to the old. I love the old Levon.
Crocodile Rock.
And Cheryl Levon.
Yes.
They were all, Levon wasn't, but Sam Smith did Daniel. Brilliant choice of song and
Love
performance.
I love
That's
Daniel. Oh my
my
God, makes me
favorite.
cry.
I just
That
know.
makes me think of my brother.
It makes me.
I went to- oh, go
I
ahead.
was in love with an older man named Daniel, and he moved away.
I remember. Oh no!
Call
Here
me
we
by your
go.
name.
But I
Blake.
remember, it's hard to, it brought me back to how huge Elton John was as a performer in the early and mid 70s, all through his life. But at that point, there was no one bigger. He was bigger than the Beatles. He was big, he was more flamboyant than God. He was all these things, and yet his music was so pure.
Yeah.
Can I take you back in time?
Yes.
The very first concert I ever saw was Elton
Shut
John
up.
Stop it.
at the Hammersmith Odeon. I was 16. I was taken by my best friend's older sister, who was like, "Ugh, we have to take these two young
course
kids."
you
Because 16, Today, 16 is you're all grown, but 16 then in 1970 something.
Yeah.
He came on stage. This was the height of the platforms, the insane
Oh,
glasses.
yeah, the
Benny and the Jets,
glasses,
Yellow
yeah.
Brick Road. He came on stage on a wire from the very back of the theater. Whoosh down onto the stage. I mean, it was the most amazing thing. I just had to.
No, thank you.
there.
I had millions of memories too, and I think anybody watching will. Lady Gaga did your song.
Yeah.
I was surprised in a pleasant way. Little Big Town, which is that the four people that from country western, they did a version of Rocket Man that was so
I
amazing
love
that
it.
Elton John was bowing like not worthy to them at the end. I mean, it's just surprise after surprise. And Neil Patrick Harris did, and I'm going to cry and I'm a cornball, but they talk about his relationship with Ryan White.
Right, yeah.
And how and
the little boy who died of AIDS in
Yes.
the 80s and sort of changed the narrative
in
around
1990,
AIDS.
and he so inspired Elton John, and they read a letter that Elton John said, and all of Elton's AIDS Foundation is because of Ryan White. And he also said 6 months after Ryan White died in 1990, he became sober. He goes, Ryan gave him life and gave him the ability to do something he was proud of and sort of inspired, and how much compassion Ryan White had. And there was a thing he said in a letter he wrote in the 20th anniversary of Ryan's death, saying that when he was being labeled, Ryan White, as the innocent victim of AIDS, remember that phrase? Because it was like kids that got transfusions, the innocent victims of AIDS. He goes, Ryan White refuted that and said we're all victims, innocent victims of AIDS, because there was that crazy divide in a moment in Hollywood where it was like, pediatric AIDS. Elizabeth Grazier's pediatric AIDS.
That was okay to
that
donate
was okay to
to,
do,
yeah.
but all those awful homosexuals,
who deserved
they
it,
had it coming.
yeah.
The end. I will just say that it ended with, and what's so amazing about Elton John is he came on stage. We think, well, Elton John, and he sang Benny and the Jets, tore the house fucking down, then went into Philadelphia Freedom, and then because that career has been up and down,
I
and
was
up
going
and
to say
down, and
that
up
there's
and down.
many eras
Yes.
of Elton.
And it wasn't always clear he was going to continue.
I'm still standing where, like, he really,
And
that's...
that was the closing number.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it was so powerful.
Yes.
So,
Because we didn't think that he would translate into the MTV era, and then he did.
everything.
I
and
guess
Broadway.
that's why they call it the blues.
That was also some.
Yeah, but I'm Still Standing is anthemically important.
Well, that's an AIDS anthem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So,
gosh, I think we have to talk more. We have to
Let's do an Elton John
revisit.
show.
We're going to do an Elton special, I
Okay.
think, because there's so much to talk about. It's like a whole history. You can see the history of our times through Elton John.
I think I am guilty of taking him for granted too, because
Me-
I haven't thought about him in
just
10 years.
a little bit. I don't hate him, but do you just think like, oh, it's Elton? It's like the Eagles, Elton
Yeah,
John.
he's
All
there,
these about the
uh-huh.
goodies. Oh my God! And I really do recommend that people. I think it must be on CBS.com.
It is, yes, or CBS All Access.
Do
Check it out.
See it.
Oh, James, another easy one to follow. Number 9.
Number 9.
Holy moly, you guys. Oh my God. I saw The Quiet Place. And when I tell you that it is one of the best movies of the past 10 years, easily, hands down, it is one of the most amazing movie experiences you will ever have in your life. I want to talk about it in depth a little bit, but I'm not going to give any spoilers that aren't in the trailer.
Okay,
or
good,
the
because I want to
commercial
watch
or
it.
the-
But just it's John Krasinski.
It's John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
Okay.
John Krasinski wrote, directed, and stars in it. It's a tour de force on his part. He's so handsome. I love him so much. What you know, basically going into the movie, is that there's been sort of a post-apocalyptic situation. There's monsters everywhere.
As happens.
They're blind, and they navigate through sound. So if you make a sound, they come and get you. Any big sound, it brings the monsters.
Oh, not just talking.
Not just
any-
talking, anything. So if you bang against a garage door, if a plate falls,
If you fart.
How do you navigate?
Well, that's just it. We have this one family that's scavenging, and they're trying to make it on their own. And what you know from the very beginning, the girl, one of the girls, the oldest girl, is deaf, and that becomes very important later on. But
Oh, I can see why.
okay, but from the outset, and this is the spoiler. I want you maybe turn it down for 30 seconds if you don't want to know. But from the outset, you know that Emily Blunt is pregnant.
She what?
And all of it, you see
I was
that.
promised no spoilers.
No, but you know that you know that.
Well, that's
you,
a noisy
okay.
event,
no,
right?
You know this from the commercial that she's pregnant.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you start to pull that thread, and you think, oh my God, how can you give birth and not make any sound? How can you you have a baby that's not going to cry?
Can you go underground?
Well, they're trying to do all sorts of things. They know the event is coming. They have a calendar, and every day they mark it off. And every day they mark it off.
I feel in jeopardy.
You get like
immediately.
more tense. From the moment it starts until the end. It is constant tension. I've never been so stressed out in my life.
I'm not going to see it.
You keep thinking, no.
I can't.
No. You have. I mean, literally,
I can't subject myself.
It's like the old Roger Corman things. Like they should have a nurse outside ready to take people to the hospital because it is so stressful that like everybody in the theater, like if you're there is no dialogue in the movie.
Is the audience silent?
The audience is silent.
You could hear a pin drop.
If my chair creaked and my chair kept creaking, everyone is like getting angry with me because it is so quiet, and you have to. There's just so many situations that keep arising where sound is inevitable. You know what I mean? Like, like how do you not do this?
Right.
And when she finally gives birth, and when and everything, it's just like the most upsetting thing that's ever happened in the entire world.
More upsetting than what happens to the baby and mother.
Because
that's pretty upsetting.
No. I'm gonna go on a limb and say that you have never experienced a movie like this before, and I don't want you to watch it on TV. Wait for it to come on TV. How don't you dare watch it on a tablet or a phone?
I was gonna watch it on my iPhone.
On an airplane. No. This is a movie to experience in the cinema with an audience because it is a shared as everyone was holding themselves tense until the movie ends, and when the movie ends, there was a collective like scream gasp from the audience, and everybody walked out laughing and talking to each other.
Right.
Like the whole audience like was instantly friends because you'd just been through this incredible experience together.
I don't like movies that put me on the emotional rack. I mean, open water, when the divers come up and the boat's gone. Just that concept alone is so upsetting. I cannot bring myself to go see it.
I want to go. It sounds like a ride.
It is such a ride.
So I get it. The movie's really quiet. So it's when I get tense at movies, I love to scream. So you don't make noise, like around the corner is the bad guy or anything.
You do, but then you think the monster is going to come and get you. Like people are scared. Just like you are actually part of this scenario. And when you make a noise, everyone's like scared. Like yes.
So you shouldn't even really eat popcorn because it's
well,
chewing.
right. That's allowed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Activity.
Exactly. It's just it's such a great movie, and I really think there's an Oscar for the Foley editor. For whoever did.
So presumably there is sound in the movie.
There is sound in the movie, and they do manage to. They sign to each other, and they do this sort of sub-whispering thing.
Oh, you can sub-whisper?
It's not even. It's like not even a whisper, but they manage to do that. And if there's a louder sound, then the monsters go towards the louder sound. So at one point, and this is another spoiler, but there's a waterfall, and they can go behind the waterfall and have a conversation because in the Office World of Wonder, it's really small, and sometimes when we gossip about James, we use the same voice. You use your sub-whispering.
So the monsters don't go behind the waterfall?
No.
Come on. Like, they get a source of a sound, so there's the waterfall. No. And you're right behind it.
But there's just a lot of sound there. So they're used to it. They know that there's nothing there.
They can't decipher. I see.
They're not stupid monsters.
But it really is absolutely I'm.
What do they look like?
Well, that's the thing too. There's sort of a Jaws element where when you don't know what they look like, it's scary, and then at the end, you do see them up close, and they aren't quite as scary because it's when it's just this thing that comes out of the dark and gets you when you make a sound.
I'm thinking
terrifying.
You can destroy them with some sort of ultrasonic vibe or something.
Don't I see it.
Throwing it out there. Okay.
Well, no, there is ultimately a solution.
Well, let's get. Is it A Quiet Place or The Quiet Place?
I think it's A Quiet Place.
Well, that is playing in cinemas now. You can go see it. Okay, so number 3.
Number 7.
That's quite right. Gosh,
number 3.
He said with
utter confidence.
Such great authority.
9, 8.
Just like I know I've got this, boys. Hold my beer.
Follow me.
Number 8.
I saw the highest grossing play in Broadway history.
Oh.
Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
In history.
It was just announced as the highest grossing play just yesterday.
Beats
today.
Cats.
Where's it playing?
It is playing at the Lyric Theater. And just so you know that I really went.
In New York.
I bought visual aids.
Wait, is this the highest
Yes,
grossing
in New York.
because tickets are $500?
No, actually, tickets are actually quite reasonably priced. And actually, the Lyric Theater, they took some seats out to accommodate it. It's in 2 parts as well. It's over, so you buy a ticket, and that's good for 2 nights. It
How can
is...
you read that cat? I can't.
Okay. Listen to me.
We're listening. We're listening.
It is the most amazing play. It really is phenomenal. And originally, when it was announced, J.K. Rowling said this was going to be a prequel of Harry Potter's life as an orphan child. In fact, turns out it's not a prequel at all. Harry Potter is all grown, and he has a child who is the cursed child. And what's so fantastic about this is, I mean, apart from the staging, the magic, the acting, everything about it is, and the plot. The plot is very good. It involves a time turner, so there is time travel, and et cetera, et cetera.
Do we go back to Harry Potter times?
We do indeed. I don't want to give too much away because the hashtag thing is keep the secrets. And in fact, you know, if you want to know, it's easy. You just go out and buy they published the plain manuscript, which has also been the fastest selling book in the history of all publishing or something incredible. So you can go and read the play script, but it's amazing how people actually are kind of keeping it secret. It's a fantastic story. What is great about it is Harry Potter was this kind of goody two-shoes character, right? And the child, the cursed child, is not.
Is he more of a Draco Malfoy?
He is. And there's a fantastic relationship between him and the son of the Malfoy son. But what's so even more brilliant about this is that it isn't just that he's a maladjusted kid. It's like he needs to define himself as separate from his father, which almost dictates that he needs to go to a dark place. And so he gets bullied, and he's not really a victim. It's more he's a defiant person. And I think that is, in terms of the bully narrative, which is always presented as victims, it's great that you see this person who's defiant, who's determined to make their own mark and be themselves. And out of necessity, that means being different than what has gone before. And living under the shadow of Harry Potter could be a very overwhelming thing. And I think it's brilliant that they went there rather than like cleaving to a Disney expectation of characters being good, etc. You know, they actually embrace the fact that Harry Potter is a terrible father and he has this difficult child, and it's really got layers of complexity. The great twist reveal is, you know, J.K. Rowling had said
keep the secrets.
Hermione would never, in fact, marry, what's his face? Ron Weasley.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, that's exactly what happens. And Hermione is African-American. And that sent people into spirals of conniption fits.
It's so silly.
Oh, ridiculous,
I have a technical question. It's in 2 parts.
Yes.
So you go one night and see part 1 and another night and see part 2?
That's exactly right.
And you have to see part 1 to understand part 2?
And do they do part
Kind
one?
of, yes, actually,
So
yes.
what marketing
Because-
genius? You don't have to buy 1 ticket, you have to buy
Right.
2 tickets.
Well, that's Angels in
but
America,
the
too.
price of the tickets is reasonable. It's not like it's double the price, and it's
Wow.
not insane Broadway prices. It's actually
So they had to learn 2 plays, essentially.
well, essentially, yeah, because it's like 6 hours long.
And do they do part 1 and part 2 every night?
No, you have to go the next night.
Okay.
'cause
Monday,
it's-
Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday is...
I had to tell you.
Don't even start with matinees.
This is amazing.
Yeah, right? What
This
happens if you just
is-
stumble into part 2 and you didn't
Well,
realize?
no, you can't do that. It's the way you buy the tickets.
You buy 2 tickets at once.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, that's a good point. It isn't one price. It's 2 tickets.
Gotcha.
You do buy 2 tickets. But like I said, they're reasonably priced. And
I'm out of it because I didn't even know this was happening. Did this start in London or is it starting on Broadway?
it started in London a couple of years
right,
ago.
all right.
It's just in previews now on Broadway. And Billy, my husband, who's the ticket whisperer, somehow got tickets to like the 3rd preview.
Wow.
And the amazing thing is,
Are there standout stars? Are there people who are...
the other incredible thing, it's the same cast from London, like who've been doing it in London for the last 2 years, and they're all really good. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you who they are, but they're fantastic.
Is Harry handsome? Is there...
Yeah, he's doable. Yeah,
Is there
I
any
think
frontal
you would-
nudity? I'll ask for James. He's
There
beating
is
around
not.
the bush.
Because
But
we've seen Daniel Radcliffe in Equus.
Surely you would imagine that some of it's hard to replicate, but when the Dementors appear, it is unbelievably chilling. Unbelievably chilling. And you'd think it'd just be something on a broomstick floating around. And also when they do the time travel sequence is every time the audience gasps. It's so fantastic.
Now, but you were a huge Harry Potter person.
No, never read the books. I've seen all the
never
films,
read the books?
never read the books, but I'm going to now, I think.
I really think you'd enjoy the books.
Have you read them?
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
I read half the first one and stopped.
Never seen a movie.
Well, I mean, you should be reading them to Nolan every night.
Well, he's seen all the movies. I mean, that's the thing with this generation, you know?
And isn't Nolan like 15 now?
No, not Nolan. I mean,
Elliot.
The things that Nolan has seen.
yeah.
The things that Nolan has seen.
I tell you, it's worth going to see just because
Elliot's like Nietzsche.
just because of the theater alone, it's worth going to see. They've completely renovated it. It's like Harry Potter carpet. It's Harry Potter wallpaper. It's gorgeous. You want to live in it, and they know it's going to run there for probably the next 30 years.
Ever, yeah.
You know, forever. So that's Harry Potter, yeah. At the Lyric Theatre, opening April 25th. Or you can just go by the script. But I still think it's worth seeing. We're going to take a quick break. Have a question for you. It's very easy, actually. Harry Potter's birthday is July 31st. Okay? He shares that birthday with someone else critical to the wizarding world. James, you should know this. We'll have the answer after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Whew. God, I'm so cold. I wish I had a hot beverage to drink. Like a latte. Oh, thank you. How much was this latte?
It's $3.99.
How convenient. That's the same price as a Wow Presents Plus subscription every month.
What is Wow Presents Plus?
Bitch, you get all the content on there. Girl, all the drag queens for $3.99. Bitch, you get the full juice.
$3.99 a day?
No, $3.99 a month.
You can have access to all exclusive content.
Ad-free.
Ad-free.
So support Wow Presents, support the gay content, and spend $3.99, the price of a latte for my boyfriend.
A month. And here's the real trick. It's not coffee.
What is it?
It's gayness.
Don't know what to get the Wow fan in your life? Get them this. A subscription to Wow Presents Plus. It's only $3.99 a month.
And make sure you're not latte to the party. Am I right? Is this almond milk?
No.
Oh God, I'm gonna shit myself.
And we're... Though if you were in Quiet Place, you'd be dead.
I know.
And we're back. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy. We're doing our top 10 countdown of things that make us go wow. With Tom Campbell, James St. James, Blake Jacobs.
Hi.
And we're sitting in the window of our lovely Hollywood Boulevard studio at World of Wonder. You can watch us on worldofwonder.net/Radio Andy as well if you want. Okay, so before the break, question was... Harry Potter's birthday is July 31st. He shares that with someone critical to the wizarding world. Who do you think that would be?
Well, was Ian McKellen Gandalf? No, he was...
You're looking at the wrong guy. I got
Dumbledore.
nothing.
Dumbledore.
I got
Who is
nothing for you.
Dumbledore?
I'm guessing Walter Mercado.
I'm saying David Copperfield.
Oh, I'm going to say... No, I'm thinking it was somebody from the cast.
Okay.
I'm thinking it was like an Ian McKellen or Maggie Smith or someone.
You're very close,
to pick
James.
one.
Think closer, more critical. Without whom?
Daniel.
Who would this
J.K.
whole-
Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, who's a brilliant...
Have you met J.K.?
Brilliant writer. I have not, no. I'd kind of like to, though.
I know, she's fun.
She loves going Drag
Billionaire.
Race.
Yes.
Billionaire.
Billionaire, trillionaire.
And philanthropist gives it so much of it away.
And a resistor of the week.
And a resistor, yes.
Resistor of the year.
And a fun tweeter.
Okay, moving on. Number 7.
Number 7.
Molly Ringwald recently wrote an article for The New Yorker where she was looking back at her most famous John Hughes films through the lens of the Me Too movement, of where we are today, actually sat down with her 10-year-old daughter and watched them. And it's a very complicated issue. And I think she navigated it pretty well because she, Molly Ringwald, remember she was on the cover of Time magazine.
She was the most famous girl in the world.
Yes.
She exemplified teens in the 80s.
And John Hughes made her world famous. And I do remember she was pretty, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, and,
Breakfast Club.
And she thought he was a lovely man, and Breakfast Club. And he's done Home Alone. I mean, like John Hughes.
Planes, Trains, Automobiles, Uncle Buck.
Unbelievable.
Did he do Uncle Buck?
Maybe.
And
And Beethoven.
John Hughes did Beethoven.
He did it under a pseudonym.
But the thing is, I did just go back and rewatch 16 Candles recently, and there is a lot of misogyny in it. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of very casual homophobia. It's weird to watch because it's how they got away with it, and it feels wrong, a lot of it.
It does now through today's lens.
It's
At
very
the time,
dated.
Do you feel like you felt that way when you first saw it?
No. At the time, it was liberating and a breakthrough, and it felt like modern and fun.
Yes, he gave, because Molly even says he gave voice to a female teenage character. She was the point of view of the movie, but there was moments in the movie too. Which one? I don't remember. Where someone looks under the Breakfast Club, where they look under and up into her dress and her underwear, and it's presumed that he touched her.
Remember, Jake Ryan trades his drunk girlfriend.
That's right.
He gives the girlfriend to the geek character. What was his?
I can't remember.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Anthony Michael Hall. He says, yeah, take her, man. I don't need her. She's drunk. And he just sort of hands her off. And there's the whole thing with the underwear. There's the whole thing with Long Dong Duck, who is the exchange student.
Right.
And that's almost like Mr. Miyagi in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yes,
it's
Mickey Rooney playing Asian.
Almost, that sort of.
But that's an example
yellow.
of another thing that sticks out, because Breakfast at Tiffany is an exquisite, perfect movie with a hugely racist portrayal of an Asian man by Mickey Rooney. So do you throw away the baby with the bathwater?
And in fact, they give Long Dong Duck a girl. The guys.
John Cusack.
It's played by John Cusack?
Yeah,
Nice.
his girlfriend, Long Duck Dong's girlfriend.
Blake is a John Hughes master. But your era. But I mean, and I don't think she's dealing with the complexity of it. So I don't think we have to go black or white. But
What is she?
She's just talking about how difficult, how challenging it is to sit with her 10-year-old daughter and watch these things, and see her 10-year-old daughter, who's much closer in age to she was when she did this than she is now, having sort of reactions to it, not feeling comfortable with a lot of it.
But it's also that thing that I've talked about in my life, where are you allowed to love the memory of something even when you realize later that it wasn't real?
Well, it's kind of like the Roseanne thing, right?
Kind of.
Yes.
Is she allowed to look back on that period with fondness, even though now she's learned from it? And I think she says that's sort of the case.
Has she retired?
No.
In fact, she's on Riverdale now. She's Archie's mom.
That's right. So to me, and not to be rude or reductive, but it's like, it was John Hughes' interpretation of what high school was like. Some of it had to have been inspired by what his observations. And high schools were sexist.
And they were messy.
And racist. I mean, I'm not defending any of that stuff, but I think that's part of the culture.
He presented it all, the 80s, as it was.
In a way.
Yeah, and we were all, and all those people now are grandparents, and they're all the cranky, racist grandparents.
And I want to, what's the Martin Luther King quote? The arc of history.
The moral arc of the universe bends towards justice.
Right, and truth.
It takes a long time to do it.
It's exactly, word for word. But I do think, thank God that we grow and evolve, and that we can look back and say,
Well, I also think maybe these movies serve a purpose in terms of being they can show you where we were.
Yes.
They serve a sort of, not a cautionary tale, but they serve a sort of as a reminder.
Or even a mark to say, that's where we were, this is where we are now.
Yeah, but something that happens, though, that upsets me is when you try and... To me, Breakfast at Tiffany's was one of those life-changing movies when I saw it, and it meant so much to me. And I've tried to show it to young gays, and the Mickey Rooney thing, they can't get over it. They cannot appreciate the movie. They can't look past that. And I worry that that's what's going to happen to John Hughes' movie.
You need to send them out to get you a cocktail or something like when that scene's coming up. Would you, darling? Would you give me another martini? And
No,
then
but it's
send
true.
them back in?
But they do throw the baby out with the bathwater in a lot of these movies where there is one or two racist things, and like all of a sudden, like Gone with the Wind is you cannot watch Gone with the Wind anymore because everyone,
Pillow Talk, which is one of my favorite movie comedies with Rock Hudson and Doris Day, is the most sexist, awful movie. Where
and it's a shame because we can appreciate it for what it is, but you can't tell that to the younger kid, to the kids.
Context, people.
Well, read Molly Ringwald's essay in the New Yorker. We'll post the link on the Wow Report. Okay, so moving on to number 6. What made you go wow, James?
Number 6.
Maybe wowza, plural. There's a lot of different trailers that came out this week that have got me really excited for the summer. One of them is called That Summer, and it's a documentary that's coming out, and it's 1972 in Montauk in the Hamptons, okay? And it's
a documentary?
It's a documentary of this footage of Andy Warhol, Truman Capote, Bianca Jagger, Peter Beard, Lee Radziwill, Jackie O, and a treasure trove. All this new footage you've never seen of Big Edie and Little Edie Beale from Grey Gardens. Lee Radziwill has been hanging on to this, and she narrates it with Peter Beard, and it is just this hazy, you see Andy on the beach with Truman Capote, and then you're at Grey Gardens, and you see Lee and Jackie O talking to Big E. It's just unbelievable. It's magic beyond magic.
And who took this footage?
It's all footage that has been sort of gathered together from Lee Radziwill and Jackie O and Peter Beard.
And they've just been sitting on a secret
they've
all
been
this
sitting on it
time?
all this time.
It's Lee's project, right? It's sort of it's her impetus,
Yeah, and it's so a lot of it is the knocking on when you first see the knocking on the door of the Grey Gardens, and you first go into Grey Gardens for the first time. It's absolutely fantastic.
And it's just pure solid archive, nothing but.
Yeah, and it looks really fantastic. Another one that I'm really looking forward to is Ideal Husband. Or no, Ideal Home.
I was going to say Ideal Husband. That's Oscar Wilde, darling.
Yeah. No, this is the story of them kind of along the same thing. Ideal Home. No, it's a dramedy with Paul Rudd, who we just love.
Darling.
Paul Rudd and Steve Coogan are a bickering gay couple, and they are. It's like Oscar Wildean level of bickering, just very, very fun. And they end up having a 10-year-old kid move in with them, and it sort of upends their life a little bit. But it's this sort of bickering,
vicious, bitchy.
Yeah. But that looks really fun. There's another thing called The Wife. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this. This is Glenn Close gunning for her Oscar. She's been nominated 6 times. Never won. She's up there with Deborah Carr and the character actress played Linda Blair's voice.
I don't know.
No, you do know. She was the voice of the devil in The Exorcist.
I know, but I don't know who that is.
She always played maids.
Thelma Ritter.
Thelma Ritter.
I think she was the voice of The Exorcist.
Yes, you didn't know that.
No.
Yes, she was the voice of the devil. Yes. I might be making that up. I don't know.
Let's make it a fact starting today.
We're gonna have to look this up. I swear to God, I think Thelma Ritter was the voice of the devil in The Exorcist. Yes, I swear to God.
Okay. That's the headline.
An Alzheimer's moment. Anyway, but this is Glenn Close and Jonathan Pryce, and Jonathan Pryce plays a very serious writer, and he's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and his long-suffering wife is by his side, and it's Glenn Close, who gave up her writing career in her 20s to help build the legend and the mythology.
This sounds kind of dark.
Yeah, the mythology of this man, and you get the feeling that maybe she is the driving force.
She wrote the books.
He probably
a
is.
little Colette-like sort of thing.
Yeah, and but she's at her breaking point where she just can't take it anymore.
That's where the film starts.
Yes, and when he goes to Sweden to pick up the award, and she's like, okay, I've had a lifetime of this. It's time for me. It's time. This time, get off of my runway. Scrapbooks full of me in the background.
Those sound excellent.
Wait, no. There's just one more there very quickly. And
that is illegal. You can't have 4.
No, I can have 4.
I know.
Anything with Matt Bomer, and there has been a lot of controversy controversy around this,
Yes.
where he plays a drug-addicted trans sex worker, and everyone is, like, why you gotta have a cis man? Why can't you have a trans person playing a trans person? Why does the trans person gotta be a drug addict and a sex worker?
Right.
People have been really on it about this. I think he might be gunning for his Oscar. It might blow up in his face. It could go
What's it
either
called?
way.
What's the
It's
movie
called
called?
Anything.
And you've seen the trailer?
I've seen the trailer, yeah. And he doesn't make a pretty girl. He's a pretty boy. He doesn't make a pretty girl.
Oh, really?
As so often is the case, ugly boys make pretty girls.
Well, that's
we've learned on
And
Drag
on
Race.
that note,
That's a sizzling preview of the summer movies from James. Okay, so we've reached number 5.
Number 5.
Has anyone seen Ready Player One?
I haven't.
I can't believe I have to talk about it on my own.
I know. I really want to. I've been really excited. I want to preview that it's based on a book.
Yes.
That is one of those, like the Hunger Games, that every single teenager in the world has read, and they all have an opinion about.
Have you read the book?
No.
I haven't read the book. I was sort of only dimly aware. The book was written by Ernest Cline. It took him 10 years to write, and it came out in 2011. So Spielberg wasn't originally signed on to direct this movie. I forget who it was. But he's brought it to the screen. And I have to say, not having read the book, I think he's done an amazing job.
It's a massive hit.
It is. What's extraordinary about like in movies, brand names are deployed very selectively because of the product placement. You get millions from showing a can of Coke. This movie is packed with more cultural references. It's like you cannot write them all down. It must be thousands of actual brands and cultural references, which I think is very apropos, since I think with the 80s, you begin this kind of brand name referencing culture.
Where we are living in the Warholian. Yes.
What was the Psycho Killer book? Bret Easton Ellis.
Not Glenn
American Psycho.
American Psycho.
Yeah.
And it was all about his brand names. And this sort of is that, in a sense.
So back it up. We're in a dystopian future.
Yes,
the
okay.
world is horrible.
Horrible.
And everybody lives in virtual reality.
In the Oasis,
Right.
which is like the Internet Plus. It means it's just a virtual
You get
reality
to just
place.
choose your fantasy.
You can be anything you want to be. Now, of course,
And most people choose to live in
Like
80s movies.
like
is
a
what it
living, like a living video game.
well,
kind
sort of
thing.
everything's there. All history is
So you
there.
can be
all-
with Batman and FDR
You
and
can be
Cleopatra.
Back to the Future, Jurassic Park. All of culture is in the Oasis, and of course, it immediately begs. And then there's some. I suppose just to pay homage to the story briefly, this kid has to find 3 keys because whoever can unpack the Easter egg in the Oasis, whoever can find these 3 keys and figure out the Easter egg, will get to inherit everything owned by the creator
It's a
of
Willy
the
Wonka
Oasis.
story.
Yes, thank you, exactly. It's a golden ticket type thing, and he goes through these adventures. What's interesting is what is the moral of this movie? And Spielberg has said, it's about it's important not to live in fantasy all the time. It's important not to live online all the time.
That seems a very un-Spielbergian thing to say.
Well, exactly, because number one, Spielberg himself says he basically lives in nostalgia.
Yes,
number
how dare
one.
he?
Number two, why would you make a massive fuck-off state-of-the-art movie to make the point that screen age, there needs to be limits to the screen age? You make a movie, you're going to go see a movie and watch a movie about why you shouldn't be watching a screen.
Counterproductive for him.
It's just a little bit fighting against itself. And in a way,
It feels PC.
you're sort of watching the movie, and then I was like, maybe there's an Easter egg in this movie. Maybe that's what's really going on. And I think there is. And that's why, James, you have to go see this movie.
You said you had a theory.
I have a theory, which is that really it's all about Spielberg. The movie is completely autobiographical, and that Spielberg is the creator of the Oasis. After all, Spielberg created, right? He spun all these tales that have lured us into this culture. He lives in nostalgia. And then it's like, well, okay, if he is the creator, what is it saying? Because there's a powerful scene at the end where I'm not going to give too much away, but the creator of the Oasis is in his childhood bedroom with his childhood self right beside him. and it's a little bit creepy, and it's a little bit weird, and it's supposed to be sort of nostalgic and sort of that sort of golden childhood thing that is so Spielbergian, if you will.
Yes.
But there's something often weird about it, and I found the whole movie weirdly sort of disturbing. I mean, I really do recommend everyone go see it.
I'm in the mood to be weirdly disturbed.
The kid who plays the main character.
Yeah, he looks a little like one of the Coreys, the one who was in Goonies.
Really?
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
Corey Haim?
Corey Haim, yeah.
He was in Jurassic Park, wasn't he? He was the young kid, Tyler Sheridan, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park or Jurassic World?
I don't know. I never saw any of them. So I don't know.
You didn't? No.
Well, I mean, Jurassic Park is 93. Jurassic
the more
World
recent
is,
one.
Yeah.
Anyway, the one, all the fandom has been very alert to changes made to the book. It's interesting to note, though, that the author of the book also worked on the screenplay, so all the changes were sort of authorized.
Yes.
It's just the biggest change is that in the movie, at the end, they decide
really
that they
authorized.
should...
I just got that. I'm sorry.
At the end, they should turn off the Oasis twice a week. And that's like redonkulous. Like imagine oh, well, we live in the screen age too much. We're all too online, so we'll turn it off twice a week.
That's
Come back to this lousy world we live in.
And like I say, it doesn't really work because who is the master of all our screens? Who is the ultimate sort of auteur and creator of this stuff is Spielberg.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And he did create our culture. He did create every pop
really
culture
did.
reference. You can.
But I really didn't think I was going to like it, and I was kind of fascinated. And I'd love to talk about it again with you guys having seen it.
I will see it. I still haven't seen Black Panther though, so I mean we're so behind.
But you have seen every episode of Dark Shadows since 1962.
I'm on episode 370.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm not going to ask you a question about Ready Player One.
Okay.
Let's go back to John Hughes.
All right.
What actor got so frustrated with director John Hughes on set that he defecated in the middle of one of his co-stars' trailers while filming?
Oh, shit.
What?
Macaulay! This is Wow Report on Radio Andy SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Hey guys, it's Derek. Come and see me at RuPaul's DragCon on May 11th, 12th, and 13th at the Los Angeles Convention Center. And you know what? If you didn't like my eyebrows on TV, maybe you're gonna like them in person now. You're welcome.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm here with Tom and James St. James and Blake.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Fenton.
We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go,
Wow.
So before the break, the question was, one of John Hughes' actors or actress got so frustrated with him that she took a dump in one of the co-stars' trailers. Oh, who would that be? It wouldn't be Molly Ringwald. That's my guess. It wasn't.
I'm going to say John Candy.
Oh.
I will go with Steve Martin.
It was actually Robert Downey Jr. on the set of Weird Science. He shit in the middle of Kelly LeBrock's trailer.
And what was the source of his frustration?
They just
Probably
butted heads.
drugs and cocaine.
Probably.
He was mad at Steven, and so he took it out on Kelly, or he was mad at Kelly?
Not Steven, John Hughes.
John
I mean,
Hughes.
he was mad at John, and he took it out on Kelly?
John Hughes. I don't know why he did in the middle.
This
but
may have
he,
been pre-sober,
he admitted to
Robert Downey
this.
Jr.
Yeah, poor Kelly. That's a horrible thing to come back to.
It's like if you were mad at me, James, and you take a dump in Tom's office.
Exactly.
That
doesn't work out like
You know that's going to
again.
happen now. Once you plant the seed.
Dump the boo. We're moving on to number 4.
Number 4.
I am doing a science report. This seems clearly James's realm of the Wow Report, but I saw an article that made me think, and I'm a little confused. You've seen it too, I think. But MIT, it was just revealed, has come up with a contraption, a computer that reads your mind. And it's supposed to be kind of like a nonverbal Siri.
This is good for Quiet Place, right?
Yes.
Because it can read your mind and...
And you see the picture here, but it's sort of, it goes around your ear and down your jaw and up to your mouth. So
It looks like...
It looks like a hockey stick
It looks
taped to your
unfortunate.
face.
Yes. And it doesn't cover your mouth or cover your ears, so it's supposed to be really usable. Now, it also points out in the article that, remember Google Glasses, which is supposed to be the big thing? No one liked those because they're on you. But this claims that, anytime we want to reference our phones, we have to stop inconveniently while driving often and just pull up our screen and do blah, 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 blah. This would allow you to, as it advances, just command, I'm doing it right now.
Just summoning your phone.
Just thinking about it activates the commands. It actually, you don't say anything to it, but they say that it's actually going to get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Sure.
And it's going to get less obtrusive and everything. But it apparently in the front part of your cortex, there are some very basic things that happen.
Is this the reptilian brain or?
I don't know, but you can open how much. What temperature is it? Like the very
look at that hot guy walking by. Those things.
You can't do. What did Nietzsche say about in 1757 about blah blah blah?
Not yet.
You can't do, but you can do very simple commands. It will pick up the brain, and so you can go to the grocery store and it will add. You can say how much in your brain. You can think to yourself how much, and it will add up the price of everything you got. There's also it will play chess. You can use move king right. It will do that type of thing.
But here's the thing, because when you're thinking, there's a lot of shit going through your mind, and sometimes you'll veer off in the middle of a thought. Like while playing chess, for example, you're like trying out all sorts of different moves. How do you know when to say, okay, mind, go execute the move? Because if it was me, I would be like, I'd be moving.
That's what I think that the simplicity of the thought is what it's important.
So you have to think simple?
Yeah, you can't have a complex
well, it's not for me then.
I would think if James interrupts me again, I'm going to kill him. And then, I wish I hadn't thought of it. I wish I hadn't thought of it. Oh no! Cyber earpiece. I'm teasing. You're brilliant. I was teasing you, but you do wonder about if people could read your. I guess that's different.
Well,
it's
if
supposed
you
to be
can
to
read
yourself.
your thoughts, exactly, then I guess the next step is a device that communicates it to you. Let people in. Let the right one in. Where it's like,
but
James,
it's also like with Google Glass, where and the things where they're saying, that you just move your eyes up and down and it will go to scroll.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes do this. I'm like, well,
sometimes.
What happens? Like, is my computer screen going to be?
I will just, in terms of communicating with someone else's minds, may I just bring up again and remind everyone from Gilligan's Island that there was an episode where they found these sunflowers, and if you ate the sunflowers, you could read people's minds, and it almost tore them apart. Thank God, in the last reel, spoiler alert, Gilligan burnt the sunflower plant, so because you shouldn't know what people are thinking.
Maybe they saved a few seeds, and that's how they created this piece of technology.
You have talked. I think on the Charo show we talked about that.
I talk about it whenever I can because it's a very important
The Wow Report is an endlessly repeating thing.
It literally was one of the most formative experiences of my life. The lessons I learned from that episode.
I'm like Maya Angelou with my Gilligan Island experience.
Well, you can read more about this amazing device on the Wow Report. Moving on, James, number 3.
Number 3.
Oh, one of the most horrific things in the world happened. I've been having nightmares about this. This is so horrible.
It's going to make a great movie.
It's going to make a great woman. A woman died in incredible agony after she was embalmed alive when a doctor mistaked, instead of putting the saline bag, he put a bag of formaldehyde into her IV, and her organs were slowly
preserved. Oh, it's like
it was just in her for what was it? It was 19 hours. A woman in Russia, Ekaterina Fedea, underwent routine surgery at a hospital at the Volga district in Russia. The hospital put her on a formalin drip, which contains formaldehyde, the liquid used to keep corpses from decomposing. For the next 2 days, Fedea suffered pains and convulsions as her body eroded from the inside out. Says her mother, her legs were moving. She had convulsions. Her body was shaking. This is pure murder. For 14 hours after surgery, she was living with the formalin, and they did nothing.
Well, I thought they flew her somewhere. They flew her to an emergency place and tried to flush her.
so-
But
someone
here's the
else-
thing. You're in a surgery. How the fuck do you have formaldehyde
That's
sitting
what-
around?
what-
You
At
have the
doctors,
formaldehyde in the morgue and in
Yeah.
the surgery. Like, what are they doing with?
She died of multiple organ failure. Of course, they tried 52 different drugs to try and save her. Nothing worked. She was in incredible pain the entire time. But as with anything Russia, you've got to think,
Take it with a grain of salt.
No,
Fake
you got to
news,
think.
question mark.
No, not at all.
What?
You think that she was murdered? That this
She was part of a Trump conspiracy, and they took her out.
No, you know Putin is always killing people
Yes,
with
poisons
with
and
the
things.
polonium and things
That's
like that.
It's so weird, in Britain they killed some guy with
That's-
an umbrella,
yes.
with a pellet that was dispensed, jabbed with an umbrella. It's like, why do they have to invent these crazy? If they want to take someone out, why don't you just?
It feels very Get Smart.
It is very
Right.
very Inspector. Yeah, but it's one of those terrible things, and
It's
I've
hot.
just been
Thank you.
thinking
May,
about-
may I just have one insensitive question?
Yeah.
Did it by any chance did the formaldehyde decrease
Give like a
wrinkling,
Botox effect or something? Are we all going to be injecting formaldehyde?
Just a little tiny bit here and
Botox
here.
is a toxin,
I
right?
know. That's what I was
It's-
thinking.
It's bubonic plague.
I
right?
really hoped there was going to be like a happy ending, and her waist went to 32.
You're going to be the most pretty corpse.
Oh, I am so sad. This
Rest in
has
peace.
really broken my heart. This story.
It's really awful. Thanks, James.
Okay, well, number 2.
Number 2.
I went to see in New York. David Bowie is. Now,
right.
David Bowie is the exhibition.
But
the
is it
David
the
Bowie
same one
exhibition.
that was at the
Yes,
V&A?
it started at the V&A.
Didn't
In
you already
fact,
talk about that?
No, I don't believe I did. Thank you very much.
Can I interrupt you to
What
say
are
that there was a
trying to
Gilligan's
say?
Island I once saw?
Blake, is a formaldehyde nearby? Listen, he started this exhibition. It's been touring for 5 years, which
Yeah.
is, 5 years in. It's a Bowie song, going from station to station. Oh, gosh. I guess you aren't Bowie fans, right?
Okay, let's dance.
But
Okay,
it was at the
so I
V&A.
went, and it was a drive-in Saturday.
What does that mean?
These are all Bowie songs. Anywho,
I know the hits.
the exhibition started before he died, and then it has sort of been updated as it's rolled on. And this, the Brooklyn Museum, is the last stop of this amazing. It is pretty amazing. And these exhibitions about pop stars have become the latest thing. There's a great Pink Floyd exhibition on, the McQueen
I
exhibition.
know you did the Pink
It's almost-
Floyd. I know you did the Pink
Yes,
Floyd.
yes. Are you
Yes.
just going to go on about what I've already talked about?
I do have Soviet bus stops part 3.
This is some good radio people who listen to all of our shows, which they don't.
I am going to take a poo in each of your offices.
What is?
yes.
What do you see? What do you
What
experience?
what costumes did they take away?
It is amazing, and Bowie fans, which clearly none of you are, it's fantastic memorabilia. And the thing that they tout in this exhibition is that you put on headphones, and it senses where you are, so it plays the piece of audio for that section. Brilliant idea. I don't think it works, because if the museum is very crowded, which it was, you have to stand back, and if you're standing back,
Can't see.
you could be in the next section on looking at this
Oh,
section.
right.
So my thing was continually cutting in and out and switching. It was a very schizophrenic experience. Plus, people with headphones in museums are completely oblivious of anybody else. And if it's crowded, that was slightly irritating. But it is an amazing exhibition. And one of the fascinating things was Bowie went on tour with his library. He had a special case made with his favorite
a
books.
big reader.
Big reader, and he admits to being completely pretentious. He didn't really like the books, but he forced himself to read them because they were cool, and if he read them, he'd be perceived as cool. So he's a bit of a sued, but then he became cool. He was determined to be a cool person, and that's what he became. One of the things that's not in the exhibition that I wanted to share with you, you've seen pictures of David Bowie, right? He had terrible teeth.
Yes.
Right. And after he died, an artist created a cast of his teeth.
Wait, but didn't he get veneers in the
He
in
got
the
them
90s?
fixed. He got them fixed, but I
stop it.
I was so amazed by this. I bought one. It's a limited edition of 5 David Bowie's teeth.
Fenton has
Oh
pulled
my
out casts
God.
of David Bowie's original
Yes,
teeth.
I think that's the
That
lower
is-
jaw,
and
tops,
bottoms.
tops and bottoms. And let's
This,
get
this was in the gift shop?
No, I bought it from the artist. It's an edition of 20, a limited edition of
Stop
20.
it.
The
That
artist is
incredible.
Jessine Hine.
Oh no, I guess it's
Yeah,
that.
there you go. Look at that. Chomp, chomp, chomp.
That is so funny. But then I do think that, like, in the 2000s, he did get veneers, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He
and
did fix them.
And it really sort of changed. It didn't make him as special.
But these are his prefix teeth. And
that's weird.
I mean, if you're in the least bit interested in Bowie, you should definitely check out this show.
Did they have the giant suit,
the giant panty sort of vagina type trouser thing?
Yes,
they have that.
Okay.
They have a lot of costumes. I mean, I think most alluring for me were actually, I have to tell you about this. The Ziggy Stardust outfits were so fucking hot. Yeah. And I remember as a 12-year-old, David Bowie went on Top of the Pops, which at that time, it was the show that everyone watched. It was a live TV show where pop stars came on and mimed to the hits. Bowie went on and performed Starman. I tell you, it was one of those seismic, it's like JFK being shot. It's like everyone remembers this moment, everyone in England that is, seeing it and talking about it. And it was such a sort of, it was, you know what's so weird, and I probably said this before, Bowie wasn't actually cool at the beginning. He did these songs like Laughing Gnome and Please Mr. Gravedigger. I mean, he was kind of naff.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, almost overnight, literally, he became incredibly cool. And Life on Mars, Starman, Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane. My theory is he sort of had some alien experience, because I just can't explain it otherwise, how someone could go from, let's think, well, who's really naff?
Oh, I'm not going there.
Anyway, actually, just
it'd
go
be like
see
if
it.
David Spade all of a sudden tomorrow became the hippest person on the planet.
Yes,
that's
or
it.
If Carrot Top suddenly became
Lady Gaga.
Yes,
Beyonce,
Madonna.
There you go.
Okay,
exactly. Something like that. So anyway, go see the David Bowie exhibit, The Last Stop. So it closes July 15th at the Brooklyn Museum in New York City. Okay, one more break. And I know we normally don't ask a question at the end of this, but I got to ask you a question because it's a hint of what's to come. What is triskaidekaphobia?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know.
Oh, okay. You're listening to Wow Report on Radio.
I suffer from it.
On Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, it's Kimora Black, and it is DragCon time. Get tickets now at RuPaulsDragCon.com for May 11th, 12th, and 13th. Now, see y'all there.
Welcome back to the Wow Report on Radio Andy. We've been counting down the top 10 things that make us go,
wow.
So we've reached the number one. And as a little teaser, the question was, what is...
Triskaidekaphobia.
Oh, you said it so well, James. What is...
A fear of drowning in a bowl of chopped up Triscuits.
I'm going to guess the fear of the number 13.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why would we do that? Because today is Friday the 13th.
It's true.
That's our number one.
Number one.
Friday the 13th. Yes. But it's more than a day. It's also a movie.
Yes.
A movie franchise.
Yes.
And we kind of agreed that we would all revisit Friday the 13th, originally from 1990. Went on to make tons and tons and tons of sequels.
1980.
1980?
Yeah.
It feels like 1990. I'm so sorry.
And Jason was in that, right?
He wasn't in the first one. You think he was.
For a teeny tiny bit.
No, it's his mother, Betsy Palmer. Was
Teeny
Jason.
tiny bit.
Oh,
Very, very end. It was made because Halloween, which we've talked about before and love so much, was such a hit, and they wanted to do another film that had that same kind of suspense thing going for it. So it was all set at a camp. And it was a camp in the 50s. A child had drowned while camp counselors were making out. And then there was a series of murders that followed the drowning of the innocent child. And now, 1980, as many years, 20 years later, they've reopened the camp. And there's a girl, and she's hitchhiking. Never hitchhike in a movie. And she gets closer and closer. She's a camp counselor. And over the course of the movie, camp counselors, often after having sex, die, are murdered. You never see the murderer. It's sort of Jaws-like. There's a music soundtrack. Things go on, things of that matter. And then you're right. The ending is the best.
It's a
because
twist.
suddenly we realize that the murderer
Isn't Jason
is Betsy Palmer.
It's his mother.
The mother, and it was this new kind of crazy twist.
But it was a psycho twist where she's dressed as her son, whereas in Psycho he's the
Yes.
son is dressed as the mother. So it was sort of like a play on that.
She was so upset that her son had drowned because of the neglect of the counselors, that these counselors were going to pay for it year after year after year. And so the lead of the thing, the girl, eventually kills the mother, spoiler alert. But the moment is, and this is what launched all of the other Friday the 13th, which is, if you're a purist, it doesn't really make sense, is, and I read about this, that they, at the end of Carrie, which was in the late 70s, there was that final hand going through the grave, which was like, they just wanted to shock people at everything. So they added a shocking moment. And supposedly, like, the makeup artist or someone on the set, it must have been like a low budget film, was like, hey, I've got an idea.
Let's do this.
And they have so she's out, she's just killed Betsy Palmer. She's floating, sort of. She's won, but she's exhausted. She's floating in a canoe in the middle of the lake, and all of a sudden, Jason's dead body comes up from the lake and wrestles her down to the thing, and then she wakes up and she's in the hospital and she's okay. So was it real? Was it her imagination? Did Jason really live?
Well, we have 19 afterwards.
Yes, when Jason became the murderer after that.
Betsy Palmer played the mom.
That's correct.
But originally, it was supposed to be
Estelle Parsons.
Estelle Parsons.
Yeah.
Who plays Beverly Harris on Roseanne.
Yes, Roseanne's mother.
Yeah.
But she said
Summer
once they
and Smoke.
and
Oh
they
my
said
God.
I think it was the first horror, like gasher film that got a studio release. Like, they used to be considered, this was considered trash and sort of like independent, kind of akin to porn almost, in the 70s. And suddenly it became
a legitimate genre.
Well, after Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, and there was even a remake of Friday the 13th around 2013.
Oh, they made millions.
But I
of
mean,
them.
like a reboot,
Yeah.
Right.
No, but it's also where Kevin Bacon got his start. It's also if you followed him, at one point he teams up with Jason in number 7, I think it is. At one point he goes to the moon. I think he's on a rocket ship.
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Jason
Remember
Takes
that?
Manhattan is a good one where they're on the Staten Island ferry and he goes into Manhattan.
It's Kermie and Miss Piggy. And
I mean,
that sounds like Ready Player One.
Yes.
It hasn't always been unlucky, though, Friday the 13th, right?
What?
Ooh, do you know where it comes from?
Where does it come from? I have no idea.
Well, there's two theories. One is 13 individuals at the Last Supper in the upper room, Jesus Christ, Good Friday, things of that nature. And the other one is 13th of October, 1307, which was when King Philip IV ordered the arrest of the French Templar Knights.
Oh,
that was a horrible day.
I remember where I was.
And I have to warn you now, Friday the 13th, Friday, April the 13th, 2029, we are supposed to be hit by a giant asteroid.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Not the Hale-Bopp. What is it?
I don't know. It's going to wipe us out.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
2029. So that gives
God,
us
there's
11
always something
years,
to worry
right?
about.
11 years.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully we'll still be on the air.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll do it live.
Wow.
Okay, that's all we have time for.
That's good.
This week.
We did it.
Oh. Have you subscribed yet, James, to WOW Presents Plus?
Well, I did, but I haven't paid for it. It's on my Roku, but I haven't paid for it.
Don't you dare desubscribe when your free 30 days is up.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's less than the price of that lunch.
That seemed like oh, yeah, okay.
I keep waiting for a Christmas gift like that to be the Christmas gift or something.
Oh, well, keep waiting. Detox is Life, Rehab is on Tuesdays. Jasmine's Masterclass is Wednesday. Thursday is Tea with Tatiana. And we close out the week with Fashion Photo Review on Friday.
There's a new show every day.
Yes.
And there's an all-new transformation that came up this week with me and Cheddar Gorgeous.
Fantastic. What are you?
I'm Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen.
Oh, you are. That is so you.
Typecast.
You love a ruff, don't you?
I farthingale, yes.
With rough trades. Or a rough collar. Okay. RuPaul's Drag Race, Tuesdays, 8 p.m., VH1.
Thursdays,
Miss Vanjie.
RuPaul's Drag Race,
Miss
Thursdays, 8 p.m.,
Vanjie.
VH1.
And my favorite new show, I joke you not, Ryan Serhant, Sell It Like Serhant. It's on Bravo. It's Wednesdays at 10 p.m., 9 Central. Ryan from $1 Million Listing is going, it's every episode self-contained, but he goes and he helps the lowest salesperson at a crazy, bizarre sales place.
It's like Hell's Kitchen,
become
sort of.
number one.
Yes.
And there is an episode, I don't know when it's airing, where he's in this Speedo.
He's so handsome. He is so.
So you get to see
And
Ryan
he's game
play.
and he has fun.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's not creepy that he's in a Speedo. It's hilarious.
Well, it's just delicious. I will.
Yes.
Come see us at the RuPaul's DragCon.
May 11th,
DragCon.
12th, and 13th.
Yes.
Coming right up.
RuPaulsDragCon.com. It is just around the corner. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. You can see us anytime on the Radio Sanity Radio. Thanks for tuning into the Wow Report on Radio and SiriusXM. You can watch us on the Sirius Radio app.
Or just watch us on YouTube.
Thank you.
Yes.
Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
Wow.